Today on Studio One, making a difference in the Colorado Rockies, Mike Leahy ensures safety when climbing rock formations. We'll give you an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the Martin Zeller concert. His music is rapidly gaining fans. And an in-depth look at how some towns are bypassing profit-making measures to jumpstart the rural economy. All this and more for Friday, February 24th, 1995. Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio One today. Scott Seiler here along with Jenna Davis, who's in for a sick Jennifer Brannigan. We hope she gets well. And as always, Jennifer Diedrich and Adam Brace. We're going to be doing a little surfing today, not on the ocean, but on the internet. Mark Boswell, who's a graphic artist from the Grand Forks Herald, is going to tell us how to hook up to the system everyone is talking about.
And we'll also have the weekend weather. What's up for the weather?
Well, it's going to be a little bit too cold to go surfing, but we might even see some snow, and I'll give you the details in just a minute.
Okay. All that and more coming up in the next 60 minutes. But now the top news stories, and Jennifer Diedrich.
Thanks, Scott. A former Democrat is the first Republican in the 1996 presidential race. Texas Senator Phil Gramm is already on a roll financially. At a fundraising dinner in Dallas, he raised a record $4.1 million. Among other things, Gramm is promising to balance the budget in his first term and end most affirmative action programs. Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole is scheduled to formally announce his candidacy in April and is considered the front-runner among Republicans. A lawyer for former Ohio Congressman Donald Lukens says there is no way on God's green earth that he is guilty of bribery. A federal grand jury indicted Lukens Thursday on 5 counts of bribery and conspiracy. The FBI arrested him in Dallas on charges of accepting $27,000 from 2 Ohio businessmen trying to keep their trade school in the federal student loan program. Lukens resigned from the House in 1990 amid a sex scandal. NASA is downsizing. After a recent hiring freeze, NASA is in the beginning phases to reduce the size of their headquarters. The plan is to cut spending by $5 billion by the end of the decade. Local space studies professors say that UND's Center for Aerospace Studies will not be affected by the freeze. One associate professor says that it will mainly affect employees at NASA centers. The hiring freeze was a surprise for most employees, and NASA has already cut its spending by 30%. The Space Administration is still going ahead, though. It's planning to build a new space station with $2 billion it will receive from the government. AIDS may be the nation's leading cause of death for young people, but not in North Dakota. Today, only 55 HIV-positive people are known to be living in the state. Accidental death is still the leading cause for fatalities for young people. North Dakota had only 5 new reported AIDS cases in 1994 for people between the ages of 25 and 44. A federal study reported that the disease is spreading faster among women. In North Dakota, female HIV and AIDS infections make up only a fraction of total reported cases. The overwhelming majority of infections are male. Most reported cases are centered in the eastern part of the state near Grand Forks and Fargo. Few people get a second chance at life, but Mike Blake of Marion, North Dakota did. A heart transplant in 1994 allowed him to live, but now he must live with the bill.
Sports cards are worth money. Mike Blake needs money. A sports card auction, sponsored through the North Dakota Association for the Disabled, will help Mike with his medical costs.
So we met with a financial consultant at Rochester, and they said it would probably be a good idea to maybe try and get some kind of a fundraiser, but we had no idea it would be this magnitude, I guess.
An anonymous donor gave 275,000 cards. The estimated trade value of the cards was $52,000.
A guy donated some cards. A whole bunch of cards, must have been his whole life's collection to this cause.
Cards are auctioned in lots of 400, each worth no less than $25. Rare and high-value cards like Michael Jordan's rookie card, worth nearly $800, will help Mike's situation. A sports card auction is not a traditional way to raise money.
And you can walk through and check the lots of cards and put your bid down. The next person can walk through and say, oh, it's worth more than that, cross your bid off and put a higher bid right on it.
The average bid on each box ranged from $5 to $10. Blake's hospital costs are over $100,000. Medication alone cost Mike $1,000 every month for the rest of his life. The auction brought the Mike Blake Heart Fund about $3,000 short of their $100,000 goal. For Studio One, this is Jake Henningsgaard.
Now the auction is over with, but if people are still interested, there's a place they can send money to.
Right, they can still send money to the North Dakota Association for the Disabled.
Okay, well the weather's been getting better every day. Adam's here to tell us if it's going to continue. Adam?
Well, thank you, Jenna. We've been on a roller coaster ride of temperatures all week, and it looks as though that's going to continue at least through the weekend, and then it's going to turn colder. But there isn't any cold temperatures to speak of this morning. Matter of fact, it's quite balmy out there with cloudy skies. We have a temperature of 21 degrees. Winds are from the south-southwest at 9 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure is falling. Regional conditions again show us how warm it really is. Out in Minot, it's 30 degrees at this hour, 24 in Sioux Falls. Meanwhile, the cold spot, International Falls, at 7 degrees. On the national radar picture, what we do find is the main area of precipitation is up in the northeastern United States. Now, most of this is in the form of rain. However, on the western side along the Great Lakes states, they have found some snow showers and some snow squalls. Possibly as much as 6 to 12 inches may fall in that area during the day. Another area of precipitation across the southern United States, generally showers, but you may find a rumble of thunder here and there. Throughout much of the United States, not a whole lot to talk about as clear skies and warm temperatures rule the weather picture. Today's forecast, well, it does show us this snow system up in the northeastern United States and the rain system to the south. As we move in tomorrow, we'll see our weather conditions will change throughout the day. We do expect stronger winds with a few snow showers, but nothing really too drastic to talk about. As we can see on today's high temperature map, temperatures should be in the 20s throughout much of the region. Out to the west, however, look at that. Montana with 70-degree temperatures in February. Wow. And tonight, conditions should be dropping off into the single digits across our region, teens to the south, and the forecast for today does call for cloudy skies with a high in the mid-30s, winds from the southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, it will remain cloudy with temperatures in the teens and lows in the northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. The extended forecast does show us that roller coaster temperature regime going through the weekend. We do see a chance for snow on Saturday and Monday, but it doesn't look like it should be anything too major. So Scott and Jenna, if you do want to enjoy the weekend, do it early.
Thanks, Adam. Sounds like we need to be in Montana right now.
Yes, and not to go skiing, but just to enjoy the sunny weather and everything like that.
Yeah.
In sports, with less than a week before exhibition games begin, some teams canceling games while the Players Union is wondering if there are even enough players to play the games. However, there is good news in all that with former American League umpire Steve Palermo. You may remember him. He was paralyzed at a shooting at a Texas restaurant back in 1991. He is joining the New York Yankees cable broadcast team this fall. The NBA starting our highlights with the Denver Nuggets' Reggie Williams stepping up with a 20-point effort, trouncing the Philadelphia 76ers 105-75. The next stop, the Houston Summit, where it was the Clyde and Akeem show, just like the good old days of Phi Slamma Jamma. Elijah Wan finishing with 36, his teammate Clyde Drexler with 25. The Rockets beating the Pistons 110-99. On the ice of the Windy City, some Red Wings fans taking a road trip to watch their boys knock off the Blackhawks 4-2. The game winner came up on this heads-up goal by Sergei Fedorov as he picked up the puck and put it home. Those are the national highlights. Now look at the overnight scores. This weekend kicks off the 1995 North Dakota State High School Hockey Tournament. The games are played in the Ingolstadt Arena in Grand Forks. This year there is a new twist to the games. There is still a total of 8 teams playing, but for the first time there are 4 teams from the eastern North Dakota and 4 teams from the west. Both Grand Forks Central and Red River High Schools are in the tournament. The semifinals start Friday at 5 o'clock and the consolation and championship games are both Saturday starting at 2 in the afternoon. One of the biggest rivalries in our area happens again this weekend. Both the women's and the men's basketball teams at UND and NDSU are fine-tuning their game plans to be played out in front of 6,000 fans in Grand Forks. The Bison women have not lost since last year against the Sioux, putting them in first place. The Sioux women are in second place, and head coach Gene Robach says the pressure from these two teams is what his players are looking for this weekend.
You know, we want to win because it's the NDSU-UND game, and the must-win situation comes with the territory as far as playing the Bison, and you know, we just don't like losing to them.
Game time for the women is this Friday at 7:05. The men's game is a little later on Saturday night, starting at 7:35. And it looks like there's just a power-packed weekend of sports in the Red River Valley.
I know, I'm excited. I'm going to be pulling cords for the cameramen at the game myself.
So you're going to have your fill of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we still have a lot more coming up on Studio One. First, we'll talk with graphic artist Mark Boswell. He's taking advantage of the internet system at home and at work, and he's going to show us a few simple ways to get started on the internet.
And before we go online, we want to let you know about the Feast of Nations event happening March 4th at the Civic Auditorium in Grand Forks. Advanced reservations are required. And now a look at other events in your community. Studio One continues right after this.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
Banking is easy when you have options, like the options you get at Community National Bank. Like their friendly tellers. Can I have this traded in for nickels?
Sure, Bill.
And I love going to customer service.
Tootsie Roll, Bill.
Yes, thank you. That's customer service. Check cash card convenience when you need it the most. And those drive-ups, always one of my favorite options. And these 24-hour ATMs conveniently located all over town. Aren't they the best?
Meet me at Columbia. Meet me at Columbia Mall.
There's always something happening where laughter overflows. People meeting people, an exciting place to go. Something's there for everyone, and you can see it all. You're free to choose a million things, so meet me at the mall.
Meet me at Columbia Mall.
Handpick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
We constantly hear about the information superhighway, and the internet is definitely in the news today, but do we understand how it really works? Mark Boswell is a graphic artist from the Grand Forks Herald. He uses the internet for business and for pleasure. Today, Mark is going to let us in on some of the secrets of the internet. Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Scott.
What are some of these secrets?
Well, there aren't any. That's just it. A lot of people can become very intimidated by a lot of the high-tech speak and things like that. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of the internet and the internet stuff that's out there isn't as inaccessible as most people would think, especially now with a lot of graphical interface browsers and different ways of packaging the internet that give it a lot more of a human flavor. There isn't so much the sense that you have to put in a whole bunch of arcane prompts and backslashes and dots and process like that, which makes it a lot easier in a lot of different ways, but it also makes it a little more intimidating. People get used to having things just wide open, and this is a little more limiting.
Mm-hmm. Let's give people a better idea of exactly what the internet is. We have a graphic that's going to show exactly how it's spread out and how you retrieve information also for work and at home.
Yeah. We receive a lot of information from offices in New York through the Associated Press and the Knight Ridder Bureau, because we're a Knight Ridder newspaper. A lot of that stuff comes in, well, it comes all in two different ways, via modem from New York or via satellite. Both methods are used on a daily basis by the Herald, and in order that we can pretty much give you a view of the world in graphical and photographic means, using that part of the net. The net is necessarily, for the most part, the net is a university and military object. We use a commercial end of it,
mm-hmm.
and it's a little bit different. It's a little different flavor, so to speak.
We're also going to show some pictures that the Grand Forks Herald is really getting in and onto the internet,
right.
And it's showing people and explain to us. This is the first time a lot of people have seen this sort of thing about Ag Week, what you're going to be doing with it.
Right. This is, like I said, this is a graphical browser of part of the internet. We use, the Grand Forks Herald sister publication, Ag Week, is a weekly magazine dedicated almost solely to agriculture. What we created here using a lot of the talent from the Fort Collins part of Knight Ridder, they have a think tank there for new electronic ways of presenting information. This is an example of what that Ag Week could look like. I wish I could make this thing move the way it would in the future. If you look at the top of the graphic there, a lot of that information would scroll just like you see on headline news. And if you brought your pointer down and double-clicked on it anywhere, virtually anywhere on this screen, it would move to a different field.
So you could virtually read your newspaper
right.
through your computer instead of receiving it in the mail.
Mm-hmm, just like that. The pages would turn just like turning an actual physical page in a newspaper. It also shows different ways of presenting information as far as advertising. Like here we have different ways in which that information could be processed, and it also gives you access to wider areas of the net. So it's going to be a really exciting way of doing the news.
Yeah, what are some of the benefits for this, that people will see instead of the regular newspaper that you receive on your doorstep in the morning?
Well, newsprint prices the way they are going to be more and more prohibitive to producing so many newspapers. Also, this information comes in a lot more timely fashion. The way that, I guess the process is that agriculture moves so quickly that a weekly basis newspaper really doesn't have the information that people need right now at any given moment, and Electronic Ag Week hopes to fill that need.
Mm-hmm. How long before we actually see that in use?
I would say within a year. Mm-hmm. With a good tailwind.
As part of also with Ag Week, not only people are getting, news and information and commercials, but they're also getting weather too. And you also retrieve that information in from,
yep.
From New York as well.
Yep. This is an example of what that weather map would look like. The regular Herald and Ag Week carry a lot of information on the weather, but this would carry an up-to-date map probably on a daily basis. We have different ways we're experimenting utilizing UND's CAS and also the the Bismarck National Weather Service, and those will probably be interfaced as well. Hopefully we can hook this all up so it works.
Yeah, and the trick is everyone has to have a computer in order to access it and to get
well,
into it.
a lot of farmers already have internet services, like a commercial CompuServe or America Online or Prodigy, something like that, in order that they can get enough information. And we're hoping that we can tie them both together with that national stuff, with all of our local stuff, with that Electronic Ag Week.
Wonderful. Mark, thanks for sharing this with us. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll look forward to it in a year. Just ahead on Studio One, Martin Zeller, former lead singer for the Gear Daddies, is promoting his new solo CD. We'll give you a preview of his newest sound. But first, we'll show you how one person is making a difference in Colorado. He's showing people the ropes by making a life and death situation a thrill.
"24 hours a day, Grand Forks Flight Support is here for you. 24 hours a day, you can book business and social charter flights to any airport in North America. 24 hours a day, we offer competitive prices with a $125 first flight certificate. Grand Forks Flight Support offers a large selection of top-of-the-line aircrafts. For an appointment or more information on flight instruction, call Grand Forks Flight Support at 772-5504.
I was looking for a car for 3 months, and the folks at Honda Nissan knew I did TV commercials. And so they asked me for suggestions, and all I could tell them was how great I was treated at Honda Nissan. And the next thing you know, here I am. When I went to Honda Nissan, I was treated with such respect. And I really couldn't believe the quality and selection that I found there. People always tell me that you get what you pay for. But at Honda Nissan, you really do get what you pay for.
Newman Outdoor Advertising, a sight for more eyes. Outdoor advertising, it's bigger than life. It gives you flexibility. Use it as a constant reminder. Use it to advertise your message or product. Outdoor advertising. It's big. It's bold. Get your message across. Outdoor advertising. It works. For more information, call Bill Kasager in Fargo or Grand Forks.
The Colorado Rockies are known for their natural beauty. The rock formations which make up the landscape lure tourists from everywhere. Studio One's Monty Koschel found it's not only tourists who are attracted to the big rocks.
In a world where computers and concrete are becoming the norm, it's nice to get back to basics. Maybe breathe in some fresh mountain air, take in some sun. Those in the Colorado Springs area don't have to bang their heads against a tree to decide where to relax. It's right next door. Made it. Garden of the Gods, the name almost says it all. When you visit Colorado Springs, Colorado, it's one of those things everyone says you've got to see. Well, I made my little climb. Now we're gonna visit some people who take climbing a bit more seriously. People from all walks of life climb the red rocks of this park, and not everyone is a pro. Professional climbing instructors like Mike Leahy of the Colorado Mountaineering Club introduce people to the big rocks and show how to get on top of them. He explains climbing to those who've always wanted to cling to the side of a mountain. It must be fun because climbers are everywhere. Even the dog wants a piece of the action. Exciting, but it can be dangerous if you're untrained.
Unfortunately, several people are injured and maybe even killed a year. There was one fatality last year.
Despite the danger, climbers have their own reasons for joining the sport.
Part of it is just test your own limits, and part of it is there's a little adrenaline rush that goes with it, depending on how hardcore you get.
Mike is what most people would call hardcore.
This is relatively small. I was talking about the Montezuma's Tower out in the middle of the garden there. That's a lot more fun. That's a 2-pitch climb, and you're right on top of the world, it feels like, when you're over there.
The climbing lingo is enough to make anyone's head spin.
These are called stoppers. They're used to jam into cracks. This is called a flexible friend. It's a mechanical camming device. And this is called a hexcentric, or a bong.
What did he say?
That's used to put in big cracks.
He's basically unprotected until he gets his first piece of protection in. And he'll get that in real quick here. But at this point, if he falls, he's coming all the way to the ground, and what I'm doing is not going to help him at all. Unless I can catch him.
Good job, Blair.
Another day, another rock face. You can tell Mike loves his job. He especially likes climbing 14ers. Translated, that means a mountain the size of Pikes Peak, over 14,000 feet high.
The parks don't allow climbers on the rocks when it's raining because the rocks become soft in the rain and the climbers cause too much erosion. We're back in a moment on Studio One with Martin Zeller and his new alternative country sound.
I found the perfect girl and knew she deserved the perfect diamond. So we went to Wayne Davis Jewelers, where we chose a quality diamond and a ring that she loved. They helped us decide from a wide range of diamonds that fit our price range perfectly. we were able to see how important the cutting is to the beauty of the diamonds. The friendly and helpful staff at Wayne Davis made our important decision a perfect experience.
Wayne Davis Jewelers, a professional, locally owned store, Columbia Mall, Grand Forks.
Hey, were you guys born in a house? Yeah. What have we got to graze on? Nothing. Please? Now, don't be making those big cow eyes at... okay.
It is okay if you give them the good stuff. Mootown Snackers, cheese and sticks, or cheese and pretzels. The deliciously dippable snacks.
Animals.
From Mootown Snackers.
Hi, this is half of a TV commercial for Subway to let you know about Subway's half-price sale. For a limited time, when you buy any hot or cold 6-inch sub from Subway, you can get another one of equal or lesser value for half price. Each half is made with 6 inches of Subway's fresh-baked bread and free fixins. Not half bad, huh? The half-price sale only at Subway. I gotta go. This commercial's only half a minute long. What? Oh, right. Logo.
Going solo can be chancy when you've been the lead singer for the popular Minneapolis band, the Gear Daddies, but Martin Zeller says it's simply a new lease on life. Studio One's Jenna Davis shows us how Martin's new music gets fans going at his concerts.
Got lots of bills, he showed on friends.
If you don't think this sounds like the well-known band, the Gear Daddies, you're absolutely right. Former lead singer for the Minneapolis band, Martin Zeller, has gone solo. His debut CD is called Born Under and features hit songs like Problem Solved and Cross My Heart.
Cross my heart and I hope to die. This time I'd have more than tried.
These new songs bring a certain hometown feeling to North Dakota listeners, as does the cover of the CD. The photos for the cover and the lyrics book were shot at Grand Forks' very own fabulous Westward Ho. Zeller says he enjoys performing at the Westward Ho because the fans seem to really care about his music and his style. After years of performing in Minneapolis with the Gear Daddies, he has come to realize how important his fans really are.
We were oblivious to what was going on in Minneapolis. We moved up, and I remember, like in the first 3 or 4 months I moved up, I saw the Replacements, and it was just like, oh, it was back when Bob Stinson was still in the band, and they had such a, like a just, you know, go-to-hell attitude. It was completely opposite of what I had grown up with, you know, that they didn't care what anyone thought. They did what they did, and you liked it, or you didn't.
Martin grew up in the small town of Austin, Minnesota, where he began writing songs in high school. His earlier songs were about everyday things that happened to all of us, like dating and friends. But he says the lyrics on this new CD move farther away from such simple things.
As you get older, or as you do it more, you tend to become more analytical about your things going on, and so lyrics tend to start to be filtered through, not necessarily maturity, but you think about them more instead of just like being hung over and just writing, I'm hung over. You know, you try to dig a little deeper into what's behind all of it.
The Gear Daddies were becoming well known and well paid by the time of their breakup in 1992. But by then, Martin was ready for a change, and the band decided to go their separate ways.
The most important thing to me about the Gear Daddies was the personal thing, the fact that we were friends, and we all remain friends. I haven't lost them as friends, just as bandmates. So it wasn't that devastating to me.
It seems no matter what happens in Martin's life, there will always be music. He could never give it up completely.
I'll never, you know, just quit music and go drive a milk truck. But, you know, who knows, it may reach a point where I will have to go back and work a real job and just sort of indulge my love of music in a smaller way.
Hey, hey, goodbye, Marie, goodbye, Marie, goodbye, Marie.
Jenna Davis, Studio One.
Martin and his band move on to perform in Sioux Falls, Kansas City, New Orleans, and Milwaukee, and he is looking forward to seeing his wife and son as soon as the promotional tour is done. And Jenna, after you came back from the concert, you said you had a great time.
It was wonderful. He's a very talented artist. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and you have a CD, and you say you keep playing it over and
yes,
over
I do,
and over
actually.
again. Well, coming up in the next half hour in Studio One, Shirley Rath will show you how to be an active parent for your teen, where communication is a must.
Plus, a look at some communities are bypassing profit, making measures to jumpstart the rural economy. That story plus news and weather as Studio One continues.
UND's Division of Continuing Education can help you learn throughout your lifetime. Begin or continue your education through correspondence study and learning after hours with classes on weekends and evenings. Or enhance your personal and professional development through conferences, management seminars, and specialized programs.
Our goal is to provide quality programs and extend UND resources to you.
For more information, call 777-4266 or 1-800-342-8230.
24 hours a day, Grand Forks Flight Support is here for you. 24 hours a day, you can book business and social charter flights to any airport in North America. 24 hours a day, we offer competitive prices with a $125 first flight certificate. Grand Forks Flight Support offers a large selection of top-of-the-line aircrafts. For an appointment or more information on flight instruction, call Grand Forks Flight Support at 772-5504.
The University Bookstore at UND is open to everyone and invites you to make it your lifelong learning resource center. At the largest university bookstore in the Dakotas, you can choose from a wide selection of educational materials, imprinted clothing, and gift items. The trade department carries general interest books, reference materials, and educational software. Special orders and direct mailing services are available at the University Bookstore by calling 1-800-671-0948.
And welcome back to Studio One. We will give you an update on the ethics charges against House Speaker Newt Gingrich in the news in just a minute.
Plus, we'll have the forecast.
That's right, and if you like cold weather, I've got a forecast for you, and I'll give you the details in just a minute.
Okay, Adam. On the way this final half hour, Studio One, Dwayne Hanson flies hot air balloons when he's not enforcing the laws. He'll tell us about the competitive spirit in balloon racing.
We'll also check in on Shirley Rath, an educator of family communication. She will show us how effective communication can help parents and teens deal with some of today's difficult issues.
But before we talk to our guests, we turn to Jennifer Dietrich and the news.
Thanks, Scott. 3 House Democrats have filed new ethics charges against House Speaker Newt Gingrich. The complaint accuses him of illegally accepting up to $200,000 worth of free cable TV time for his college history lectures. Gingrich says the charges are politically motivated. His critics are calling for an independent investigation.
Should it be a permissible behavior for people to, for members of Congress to file charges that have no validity? And all I'm suggesting the difference is the only times that I was engaged directly in insisting on things, when I filed charges, they had real meaning.
GOP lawmakers are also targeting the nation's parks for budget cuts. They argue some of the 368 parks obtained money from better-known parks that are deteriorating. The House subcommittee is considering a bill to close some parks or transfer them to state or private management. The director of the National Park Service says the Clinton administration opposes closing any of the national parks. A soft, fluffy blanket may seem appropriate for nursery, but it could mean death to a baby. Nearly 2,000 infants die each year from suffocation when placed on soft bedding such as pillows and comforters. A federal investigation shows soft bedding may play a role in sudden infant death syndrome.
Anytime an infant is rebreathing his own air, the oxygen concentration is going to go down and the carbon dioxide concentration is going to go up, and it's going to lead to some respiratory depression.
The federal agency recommends placing infants less than 8 months old in a crib with a firm, flat mattress. It also says that babies should be placed on their backs or sides. In this earth-conscious age, environmentalists will recycle anything, even diaper lint. Parents who choose cloth diapers over disposables make mounds of diaper lint in the cleaning process. The lint is usually dumped in landfills or incinerated. Crib Diaper Service in Crystal, Minnesota has a solution. One employee suggested using the lint to stuff burial pillows. Thompson Casket Company says the lint is clean and bright white. The Casket Company now produces about 1,000 lint stuffed pillows each year. The cost of eating at schools may be going up. Studio One's Bob Dunlop tells us how federal cuts to the school lunch program may affect more than just the pocketbook.
Nutritional meals at school may soon become a thing of the past. North Dakota faces a 46% decrease in funding for state lunch programs if proposed cuts are passed for 1996. Program cuts will affect Grand Forks schools and up to 1/3 of area students receiving lunches. The program now provides over 14 million lunches annually to North Dakota students of all economic backgrounds. Hardest hit will be middle-income families that will lose assistance from federal funding. School officials predict 1 in 5 schools will be forced to drop the lunch program. Set up in 1946, the school lunch program was designed to educate young Americans how to eat healthier and create national health standards. Officials now fear the loss of the program will mean taking a step back.
American School Food Service has a philosophy that the food and what we give kids is just as important as textbooks and the material we give them.
At Belmont Elementary School in Grand Forks, almost all of the students enrolled take part in the program. The school's principal believes the program allows the students to enjoy each other while eating a nutritional meal.
Lunch programs, lunchrooms are a time for kids to be kids and not have to worry about pressures of classrooms. And it's another way for us to interact with kids.
Officials are now looking to the public for help.
That you just need to call and make sure that you write your letters and talk to your congressmen and your representatives and let them know about how you feel, how this will impact you, your neighbors, your children, and your community in which you live.
Bob Dunlop, Studio One News.
Officials are predicting an increase of 30 cents for each school lunch next year. Lasers will soon be used to correct vision. A technique used overseas to correct eyesight is awaiting FDA approval for use in the United States. The laser treatment would initially be used to correct nearsightedness. Radiokeratotomy is the most common procedure used today. That involves making incisions on the surface of the eye. The new laser treatment eliminates the cutting.
The radiokeratotomy takes a pretty darn steady hand to do accurately. The laser, you just put the patient underneath this big machine and center the laser, and then you just press a button down below.
Only one eye can be operated on using the laser technology. Other drawbacks include higher costs due to equipment prices and an extended recovery time. The procedure is being tested in Minneapolis and should be available this year.
You know, my question would be, does that surgery hurt?
Well, the actual procedure doesn't hurt, but there's a recovery time of about a week, and that can be a painful time. Yeah.
Well, we're anxious to hear the forecast, Adam.
Well, if you like cold weather, you're anxious. That'd probably be a better term for it because it's going to be cold next week, so hope you enjoyed the warm temperatures this week. Currently out there, though, it's cloudy with a temperature of 21 degrees. Pretty warm out, actually. Winds from the south-southwest at 9 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure is falling. Forecast for today does call for cloudy skies with a high in the mid-30s. Winds from the southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, it'll be continued cloudy with a low in the teens and winds from the northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. The extended forecast does show us a chance for snow, but it should mainly be flurries. And there's the cool down on Monday, already down to 22 with a 6-degree low temperature, so time to take out the warm coat again.
Yeah, do you think if you look in your crystal ball that we'll have these nice warm temperatures like we did last week?
Oh, probably around May sometime.
Well, fit in time for spring.
Well, not anytime soon, I'll put it that way.
Okay, thanks, Adam. The Great Plains are growing in North Dakota, but not population-wise. The trend is increasing for people to move from rural areas to urban areas. It is emptying the once vibrant communities found across the state, and yet community spirit is still strong. Studio One's Cody Shimmick shows us how some North Dakotans are sparking new life on the prairie.
The emptier it gets, the more sadder it gets. I've been here for 47 years.
After years of hard work, Murphy Callahan is calling it quits. Callahan is the co-owner of Raylex in Grafton, North Dakota.
I handled all kinds of groceries and delivering around town in a sleigh and a wagon for years.
Raylex is closing after 108 years, leaving Grafton without a large retail store.
To us to compete against the Kmarts and the Walmarts mostly, it's just like the Grafton Spoiler football team competing against the Vikings. And people come in crying and feeling bad.
Instead of accepting the loss, the local newspaper decided to take a risk. The Walsh County Record is asking 300 local people to each donate $1,000 to open a new store downtown.
If you have 300 people putting up $1,000 to buy a share of stock, you've got 300 built-in customer bases right there.
About 50 people have already decided to invest.
Collecting for $1,000 from 300 people, the first 50 would be easy, and then it gets quite a bit tougher after that, I would think.
The greatest risk we could possibly take is not to take any risk at all.
There's Grandpa. Go see him then.
That's one thing I'm going to do when I retire. Play with kids like this. I got 15 grandchildren.
Rural North Dakota once thrived. In a time when farming was king, small towns held the vast majority of the state's people. North Dakota population reached its peak in 1930, when 40,000 more people lived here on the plains. Since that time, small towns have reaped a bitter harvest. In the last several years, rural population has dropped 10%. 300 miles west of Grafton lies Belfield, population 800. Saturday night means movie night in Belfield, and Tim Nominink is running the projector.
We got about 5 minutes till we have to switch.
Nominink is one of about 30 volunteers that operate the local theater.
Nobody gets paid a nickel. They get free popcorn and pop.
The theater is open again after lying empty for 10 years, thanks to donations and help from the town council.
We charge $2 for a child, $3 for a student, and $4 for an adult. And the prices just went up here the 1st of February. When they first started this, sometimes someone would break down in the audience, boo, you know, but it was just an expected thing. It was kind of funny.
You can get a pop, you can get a popcorn.
Yes, well, I'd like to get movies for the younger people, or good PG movies or things like that.
Pulp Fiction, it didn't make no Oscars around here.
Since the theater's reopening, the business is broken even, but each volunteer profits knowing that they put something back into their hometown.
If small towns don't start helping themselves, nobody else is going to.
And Cody Shimmick joins us now after his trek across North Dakota. Is the store in Grafton closed now?
Yeah, closed for good this week. They had an auction selling off a lot of the antiques left over from the early days of the store. Kind of sad. So.
Yeah. Now, you also said that that the theater has a great marketing plan to bring in people to watch the movies.
That's right. Belfield is a strong Catholic town, so they schedule the time on Saturday to catch people coming out of Mass. So straight from church into the theater. So.
And it must work.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Okay, Cody, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.
Up next in Studio One, Shirley Rath and her thoughts on how to play an active parenting role in your teen's life.
Banking is easy when you have options, like the options you get at Community National Bank. Like their friendly tellers. Can I have this traded in for nickels?
Sure, Bill.
And I love going to customer service.
Tootsie Roll, Bill.
Yes, thank you. That's customer service. Check cash card convenience when you need it the most. And those drive-ups, always one of my favorite options. And these 24-hour ATMs conveniently located all over town. Aren't they the best?
Laughter overflows, people meeting people, an exciting place to go. Something's there for everyone, and you can see it all. You're free to choose a million things, so meet me at the mall. Meet me at Columbia Mall.
I was looking for a car for 3 months, and the folks at Honda Nissan knew I did TV commercials. And so they asked me for suggestions. And all I could tell them was how great I was treated at Honda Nissan. And the next thing you know, here I am. When I went to Honda Nissan, I was treated with such respect. And I really couldn't believe the quality and selection that I found there. People always tell me that you get what you pay for. But at Honda Nissan, You really do get what you pay for.
Communication is the key to any good relationship, and that is especially true for parents and their teenagers. Shirley Rath leads a class for parents on dealing with their teens, and she shares some of those tips with us today. Thanks for joining us today, Shirley.
Thank you.
Now, you teach a class there at Northwest Technical College. What is that class all about?
It's about parents and teens, and we start out with learning a little bit more about ourselves, what kind of household we have, whether we're yelling or nagging, or even having good communication with our children. We can always improve that. Then we go on to learning more about what teens are all about, where they're coming from, what kind of emotions they have going on, the issues that they have to deal with. And from there we go on to skill building, into communication, active listening, problem solving.
What would you say is the major problem when it comes to communication?
I'd probably say communication blocks, where it's usually we don't even know that we're doing it. We're in our 4th week now, and many parents have said, wow, I didn't even know I was doing that. And they're just amazed at some of the things that they're learning about themselves. A communication block is where you can say a word, a phrase, have body language that cuts the teen off. And after you throw that block at them, they have nowhere to go. There's no more communication. You've either been sarcastic with them unintentionally, you've told them what to do, it's like you know it all, and then they have nowhere to go with their communication. So I'd say that oftentimes is what blocks it.
I can imagine. Now, you have 3 children of your own, and you also had 8 foster children.
Yes.
You must have so much help in teaching your classes. Does that help you? Do you have stories to tell your students?
I do. A big part of the class is sharing, so I draw from their stories as well. Sometimes I can tell them, yes, I went through that too, and explain our situation that we had, or I can just say, I understand what you're saying, you know, and by them sharing, they feel that I'm not the only one in that position when somebody else is listening to what that problem is too.
That's a good feeling. I know that's true.
Yeah.
Now, we have a graphic of some good communication skills that we should use. Could you explain those for me?
Sure. Listen actively, and that can be either verbally or with body language. If someone is reading a newspaper or watching TV while you're talking to them, you know that they're not listening to you. So you have to actually listen to them with your eyes, your body language, a nod of the head once in a while. Listening for feelings, what is happening with that teen. You can tell if they're feeling depressed or angry or upset about something. Go with that feeling. And then connect the feeling to content. If they are angry about something, connect that. You're angry with her today, aren't you? Do the connection there. Then they'll know that you're listening to them and you're understanding what's going on. Look for alternatives and evaluate consequences. Look for alternatives with them. Give them the option to put some alternatives in there. You know, don't always give them the alternatives. That's how they become more responsible, is to learn how to do the alternatives themselves. And then evaluate the consequences, because what will develop out of that selection that you have, that choice that you have. And then follow up. Maybe in an hour, this person is going to approach the person that she's angry with. After that, follow up, see how it's going, see how their relationship is coming about. It might be the next week. Check in again. How's it going with that person today?
Now, would you say that follow-up is one of the most important steps? If you don't follow up with it, it doesn't seem to work if you're not constant with it all the time.
I think so. I wouldn't say it's the most important step, but without that, the teen might think, why did they even care to ask?
Exactly. Now, would you say it's harder to deal, do parents have trouble dealing more with communication, or do you find that teens have the problem more?
It's a two-way street, of course. I have to respond to what you're saying to me and vice versa. And you have to respect each other in order to have a good communication line going. I think that the parents have to start it, and then the teen follow up on it. And they will naturally follow up on it if they know that you care about them and you are listening to them.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure we can use some of your tips in our everyday life
Good.
as we see it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Dwayne Hanson joins us next on Studio One with a look at how flying a hot air balloon helps him see the world and enjoy life in a whole new way.
Great food can come from anyone, as long as the shredded natural cheese comes from Sargento of Wisconsin.
I found the perfect girl and knew she deserved the perfect diamond. So we went to Wayne Davis Jewelers, where we chose a quality diamond and a ring that she loved. They helped us decide from a wide range of diamonds that fit our price range perfectly. We were able to see how important the cutting is to the beauty of the diamonds. The friendly and helpful staff at Wayne Davis made our important decision a perfect experience.
Wayne Davis Jewelers, a professional, locally owned store, Columbia Mall, Grand Forks.
The University Bookstore at UND is open to everyone and invites you to make it your lifelong learning resource center. At the largest university bookstore in the Dakotas, you can choose from a wide selection of educational materials, imprinted clothing, and gift items. The trade department carries general interest books, reference materials, and educational software. Special orders and direct mailing services are available at the University Bookstore by calling 1-800-671-0948.
You've heard the expression of how people have their heads up in the clouds. Well, one man has actually been doing that for the past 15 years, in a good sense. Dwayne Hanson is a member of the Grand Forks Police Department, but in his spare time, he takes to the skies in his hot air balloon called Cloud 9. Dwayne's back from a balloon rally in Wisconsin and tells us about this unusual sport. Dwayne, thanks for joining us. Tell me, how did you get started, wanting to be a balloonist?
Years ago, there was a friend of mine who was on the highway patrol, and he got into it, and he introduced me to the fun life of hot air ballooning, and I got quite interested in, and he left Grand Forks. Being that he had 2 balloons, I bought one of him and got into it myself.
Mm-hmm. Now, are the balloons expensive to buy? Some are real colorful, and I'm sure they cost more, but what's about the average price?
Well, it's like buying a car. You can buy a used one for a decent price. If you were to buy a new one, we're talking about anywhere from about $18,000 to $20,000.
Mm-hmm. Now, you brought along some video to show us that there is a big process in setting up a balloon. It just doesn't you just lay it out there and it goes up. There's a lot of process that goes into that. Can you tell us about that?
Well, you lay out the balloon on the ground, you stretch it out, and they've got a inflator fan that uses cold air, and you fill this balloon with cold air first, and after it is completely filled up, then you put the heat to it and it'll stand up by itself, just by the heat making it rise.
So what's it like when you're actually up there, when you're actually above the ground and you see all these other balloons around? What's going through your mind at that time?
Oh, it's a sensation. It's almost, you can't explain it sometimes. It's fascinating. I really enjoy it. I think as far as an up and down feeling in a balloon goes, you get more of a sensation riding in an elevator than you do in that balloon.
But do you know where you're going to land after you start?
You've got a pretty good idea. You know where the winds will take you. And generally, you know approximately where you're going to put it down.
Mm-hmm. Can you control your balloon?
Not in direction. You're at the mercy of the winds. Wherever the winds will take you, that's where you're going to go.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing while you're up in the balloon? Do you just look at the scenery, or do you have to make sure that the balloon is going in a certain way? Or
normally, the first thing I do when I take off is go up and find what the different winds are doing at different altitudes. We fly from anywhere from 500 feet up to maybe 1,500, 2,000. Mm-hmm. And the winds will vary at different directions at different heights.
Is there a big temperature change at that height too?
Not really that you notice it. Normally, you don't even really pay any attention. A couple years ago, flying in Hudson, the ground temperature was 25 degrees. At 1,000 feet, it was 60. That's unusual, but it does happen.
What about close calls? Have you ever had any?
I had one when this friend of mine that got me into ballooning. We went over to Sherlock Park on East Side and took off. It was in the evening, and it was a rather hot day, and it cooled off rapidly at night. And as we took off, we crossed over the Highway 2, which is 4 lanes of concrete. And after this concrete has been heating up all day long, I went into a temperature change, and I didn't realize it, and my balloon dropped. And when I recovered, I was in between 2 houses on the north side of Highway 2, right across from the swimming pool.
And you didn't hit any power lines or anything like that?
I didn't hit anything, fortunately.
You were real lucky. Good, good.
But that's as close as time I've ever had an incident that I've been flying that I've ever had.
Do you meet a lot of the same people at the meets you go to, the rallies?
Pretty much. When you go to Montana, you meet the group from Montana. You go to Wisconsin, you meet the Minnesota and Wisconsin and Indiana group, and it's always the same people at these different locations.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a family reunion you go to somewhere.
Yeah, everybody gets to know each other quite well after a few years.
That's good. One point we want to bring up that, you know, after your balloon ride is over with, there is a prayer, a balloonist prayer that you say every time you're finished. Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, we have a little champagne party that after the balloon flight is over with. Champagne is traditional with a balloon, especially on the first flight. Mm-hmm. And in this prayer that we give to him, it goes as, "The winds have welcomed you with softness. The sun has blessed you with warm hands. You have flown so high and so well that God has joined you in laughter and set you gently back into the arms of Mother Earth."
And back on Earth you are.
And you're back on Earth again.
Dwayne, thank you very much. More success in your balloon riding.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're watching Studio One. We'll be back right after this.
Pick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance, Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
UND's Division of Continuing Education can help you learn throughout your lifetime. Begin or continue your education through correspondence study and learning after hours with classes on weekends and evenings. Or enhance your personal and professional development through conferences, management seminars, and specialized programs.
Our goal is to provide quality programs and extend UND resources to you.
For more information, call 777-4266 or 1-800-342-8230.
Hi, this is half of a TV commercial for Subway to let you know about Subway's half-price sale. For a limited time, when you buy any hot or cold 6-inch sub from Subway, you can get another one of equal or lesser value for half price. Each half is made with 6 inches of Subway's fresh-baked bread and free fixins. Not half bad, huh? The half-price sale only at Subway. I gotta go. This commercial's only half a minute long. What? Oh, right. Logo.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance, Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
And if you happen to have an email address or if you have access to a computer to get on the internet, we here at Studio One encourage you to write us with comments and information or possibly guest and story ideas. Our address here at Studio One is udstudio@badlands.nodac.edu. So write us or call us anytime. We'll be more than happy to hear from you. And that's today's edition of Studio One. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to leave you with more music from the Martin Zeller in concert at the fabulous Westford Ho. From all of us at Studio One, have a great weekend.
I grew up under a falling sky, trying not to make waves, try not to cry. Long summer days wound up so tight like 100 degrees, and sitting on down in my mind. Sometimes I feel as though I've already sealed my fate. Need a sound of it like a semi, tell me that it's not too late. Now I'm so tired of wearing your crown, tired of letting you down. Yeah, shielding on the road where the horseman and coward is involved. You say the white flag is the problem solved. Yeah, the problem solved. Yeah, the problem solved. Ain't nothing to solve.